In the midst of the worst water shortage in 25 years, Auckland now has a lifeline. Its bid for more water from the Waikato River will be heard this year. The city's reservoirs have recently been in the low 40%, while its application for more water from the river until yesterday languished 100th in a queue. Jordan Bond looks at what's going on.
Auckland's water managers realised after a bad drought in the 90s that when another one arrived, it needed another source of water to keep the taps on. It was granted consent to take some from the top of the Waikato River, just south of the city's boundaries, before the river flows out to the sea. But as the city grew, to shore up resilience in 2013, it asked for 200 million litres a day more, which would double its take. But it's a slow queue, and there are 100 applications in front of Auckland's. The chair of Waikato Regional Council, Russ Remington, says the Resource Management Act hamstrings them from speeding that up. It's first in, first served.
We've been to the Ministry in 2013 with Watercare, took our CEOs down there and said this is probably not in the best interests of New Zealand, particularly the Auckland application. And the Minister at the time was not David Parker. He said, yep, this is not a beauty parade, that's a law and you will abide by it.
Since then, the water shortage has become critical. Yesterday, Environment Minister David Parker declared it an issue of national significance.
I think that your largest city having the prospect of running out of drinking water as a matter of national significance very easily meets that test. Everyone knows that this needs to be resolved.
That declaration essentially yanks it out of the long queue and sends it to another process, to be heard by a special board of inquiry. The board will independently make a decision about whether the application should be granted and will be chaired by a judge, either from the Environment Court or High Court. Once it gets underway, a decision is due in 9 months. David Parker says this is a change in process, but it doesn't mean it's a done deal.
No, it doesn't. And one of the things I've asked the panel that's being put together, this Board of Inquiry, to look at is the economics of alternatives. They clearly need drinking water. What's a proper question is, are there affordable alternatives?
Mr Parker says the Resource Management Act must consider the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi, and the River Authority, a joint Crown and iwi organisation, can nominate a board member. A central concern is the long-term health of the Waikato River. How much can be taken and it remain healthy? Some have pointed at what's happening to the Darling River in Australia, at the moment in a very bad way, partially due to the over-allocation of its waters. Russ Remington says they've been breaking their necks to help Auckland out, but the health of the river must be protected.
They can have as much water as they'd like in wintertime, and they know it. Of course, they haven't got the processing capability to do it. When it comes to the summer, it does have a profound negative impact when it comes to the flow of the river as the summer bites in. It's a stress period, and then it has an adverse effect in regard to the fish life and the whole ecology of the Waikato River itself.
The former two-term Auckland Mayor John Banks says it's been clear since the early 2000s Auckland needed more water. He puts the blame squarely on the Resource Management Act, which has halted this progress.
What a ridiculous piece of legislation that has stifled progress in Auckland and is collapsing Auckland around a drought right now. We need to move on it quickly, very quickly. In other words, in the next 6 to 8 weeks, we're going to have this problem again. It's not going to go away when the dams are full. It's going to come back.
A meeting with all the main players is happening this afternoon in Hamilton, coincidentally on the banks of the river itself. No fewer than 7 parties are there, including David Parker, Local Government Minister Nanaia Mahuta, Auckland's Mayor Phil Goff, the head of Watercare Raveen Jadaram, as well as those with guardianship over the river, the Waikato Regional Council, the Waikato River Authority and Waikato Tainui iwi. Watercare said yesterday the city's staring down the barrel of restrictions until autumn next year. If a deal's not struck or another water source is not on tap by the end of this year, Auckland may well be in for a very dry summer. I Tamaki Makaurau, mō te hōtaka o te ahi nei, ko Jordan Bond. Aho.